Okay, who wants to know what deja vu is? Who wants to know what deja vu is? I said that already. Okay, so it's to do with time travel and quantum. So there's a thing called entanglement, which basically means one atom here can affect another atom even in another solar system or in another dimension. And that atom, so for example, you turn this atom off here, it will turn off the other one at exactly the same time. So they're actually entanglement, that's what it's called. So it's basically exactly the same. So if we go back to my drawing here, that's not you. Let's pretend that is not you, but this person goes back in time. Now he or she starts a new timeline. Blah, blah, blah. Your timeline carries on from here, and that person's now missing. But let's just say you don't even know them. You carry on your timeline, but somewhere in here, you was born. Let's say there. You was also probably born there, because that person may not even interfere with you. So you both go along. Now there's two timelines with you in it, and that's where deja vu comes from. Okay, there's this book here called How to Time Travel Through Meditation. I've not actually read it, but I'm guessing it's probably to do with more like remote viewing. Now, there is this other theory that goes way back in history, and that is that you can actually talk to yourself in the past. Harder to go forward. I've never heard it been done going forward, but basically what that means is if you've watched my other videos, you know where I'm talking about the spirit. So the spirit is connected to the soul group, and the soul group is connected to everything. It's ocean, as I've called it before. So everything is connected, and that's how I believe remote viewers work. But you can also, in some sort of meditation state, tell your spirit to go back, because spirits can go forward and backwards in time, and relay a message back to yourself when you was younger. Is anyone creating time travel now? Well, there's people out there such as John Hutchinson. He's got a few videos on YouTube where he can do some amazing things with frequencies, and as you know, I talk about frequencies. So there's a heavy bowling ball being lifted there. Frequencies can open up doorways, can levitate objects, as I've mentioned before. That's John there. And here's something that he can do with a solid bar of metal or iron. He can melt it and disintegrate it within a few seconds. Now just imagine you had, I don't know, two massive buildings and you wanted to bring them down quite quickly, and you had this high energy beam that could make it look like these buildings just collapsed on top of each other. That's the technology that can do that. The Mandela effect. Now that is a name given to an effect where you remember something one way, but apparently it was never that way. So this happened because Nelson Mandela, millions of people thought he'd passed a certain year, and they were convinced. They even remember watching the funeral and everything, and then suddenly they find out, no, he's still alive, and it wasn't. So the same goes for Star Wars here. I watched Star Wars many a time, and he always had a gold leg. Apparently, he never had a gold leg, it was always a silver leg. And when I watched the Star Wars a couple of years ago, when I saw the silver leg walking onto screen with him, I was like, what have they done now? Why have they bothered adding a silver leg after? Because I thought that was just... But apparently he always had a silver leg, and that's not really what I remember at all. But it's not just Star Wars, it's TV shows, it's all sorts of things. This board game here, he had a monocle on my versions that I used to remember, but apparently he never did. The list goes on. Now what is actually happening here is time jumping. This is what I think is actually happening. So you've got a timeline there, which is the black timeline. That's your timeline, happily going along. Star Wars, let's just say, was made about there. But something happens in the past. Someone goes back, changes it. Now there's two timelines now. And Star Wars gets made there. Now there's a thing that may happen, which is time jumping, and I'll explain some more in another video after this. But so basically, Star Wars gets made here with a silver leg, but on this timeline, your original timeline, Star Wars got made with two gold legs. Now somehow you here with the silver leg, or we jump from one timeline to another, or they jump from their timeline to ours, just like I mentioned before, and going back on a portal. I know it's kind of hard to grasp, but once they're back on our timeline, they remember the silver leg, or they always remember the gold leg, and I always remember the gold leg. So I'm on this timeline here, but what with things going on, it could be CERN, it could be people going backwards or forwards in time. So I always remember this timeline, but I may now be on this timeline because of people messing around with the timelines. I don't know how all that works. Maybe it's CERN creating multiple universes on this, but that's, I think, how it works, because you've got you're going back to the quantum angle of it. You've got the entanglement where if there's one atom here, there could be another atom identical somewhere else, and in somewhere else in the universe, and that could be you and you. So you're remembering one thing and they're remembering a different thing. Let me tell you a time travel story. So this couple would pass this diner on their way to work and on their way back. Not this particular diner, I'm just using it as an example. And they'd passed it thousands of times, and sometimes they even went in there and had food. Now one day they was driving past and it was gone. No building work, no nothing. It just looked like it was never there. And they couldn't figure out how quick that got demolished. You know, it was only like a day before. So they went round asking people, and people said it was never there. And I was like, well, of course it was there. We had food there. Then they went to the government and they looked up the maps and everything, and it was never there, ever there. So what's happened is they've jumped, going back to the previous video that I've done, they have jumped timelines, not intentionally, but somehow they're now on a different timeline where this was never there.